Happy Friday, guys. Thanks for being on today. Welcome to Coffee with Clients. So, always give people a few minutes. I know some people on their lunch break, some people it's still morning. So, good morning. Some people it's good afternoon. So, wherever you are. As a matter of fact, I always like to just know where you are. And I know people kind of don't like doing that, but just put the state you're in because it's always interesting to see. Let me open my chat so I can see what state you're in. Put what state you're coming to us from, because it's neat to see how many states, because we're community, right? Oh, Missouri, Texas, Michigan. I'm in Louisiana. It's so fun to see the community come together from all the states, or a lot of the states, right? Kentucky, Illinois, Virginia, Arkansas, Colorado. Oh my gosh, Florida. I'm so excited, guys. Welcome, welcome. And it's Friday. Anybody feel good on Fridays? Like, is it a feel good Friday? We'd love that. So, I also wanted to remind you that when we come together and do this, number one, to learn together, to grow together, to encourage each other, right? To share wins, sometimes frustrations, sometimes things we did not know on the journey, because like shifting from that whole diet mindset to this lifelong transformation, guys, that's a huge shift. So I love that we can come together and do this. So always we give honor to Pat and Karen Schatzline for their vision and setting this up and allowing us to do this as a community. And also, just to know, let's give honor to our health coaches, right? Because they are the real heroes here in the story, right? So just know that we will encourage you, we will give you information, but also remember that your best resource when it comes to any of this is your health coach. So always reach up to them, ask them questions. If they don't know, they can find out. So ask them questions. And it's okay if we don't know because we're all learning, right? Nobody has figured it all out. And then when we do figure it all out, there's something else to learn. So without further ado, I would love to, of course, introduce again my co host for today, Cassandra Reagan. Cassandra, will you come and teach us part 2 of Element 14?
All right. Hello, family. And that's what we are here, right? We're family. And that's the way it should be. If you have not listened to last week, do not fear. You can go back. If you want to read before some people like to read and then listen. Some people like to listen, then read. It's Element 14 and it's section 2.8 of the Habits of Health. Okay. And so, just to do a really quick recap, what we kind of talked about were some of the principles behind when you get to your goal weight. And there was something called a body weight set point. Okay. And that's just kind of the weight that your body naturally wants to stay at when you're eating great, healthy portions, perfect amount of calorie controlled foods, low glycemic, right? That B Slim, when you're doing all the things of that B Slim acronym, which is breakfast, exercise, leaning into your support system, low glycemic lifestyle, I, which is something that I can't remember right off the top of my head, and M, monitor. When you're doing all of those things, that your body will naturally move towards this body set weight point. And it's just kind of the weight your body naturally sets at. And it will be a healthy weight. But if you have not, that's pages 319 through 322 of the Habits of Health. If you want to understand that leptin insulin relationship. Last week was kind of heavy and thick because it was all sciencey, right? This week, it's going to be nuts and bolts of how to do the transition. Okay. So, don't worry about all of that today. If you don't get it, I saw someone said today's their first coffee with clients. So welcome. We're so happy you're here. But we're just going to start right where we left off. And we're going to talk about where you should be and how to do it. Okay. So just to review, once you've decided the weight you want to transition at, remember we talked about several, it could be your goal weight. You could realize that your goal weight is that top number that you don't want to ever go past. So maybe you're going to lose 5 pounds below so that when you transition and you regain some of that water weight from your glycogen stores, that you hover below that that top weight. Once you decide, this is your decision, this is your journey. So when you decide that you're ready to transition, your current reality should be this, that you're eating small portions at timed intervals because it's now automated. It's a part of your life. You don't even think about it anymore. It's just how you do your life, right? You are doing a low glycemic lifestyle with healthy fats and lean proteins. Remember, it's automated. You don't even think about it anymore. And you're proactively planning out your meals so that you don't live in your life reacting to hunger and your environment. Remember, we created that health bubble in a healthy environment to protect you from the unexpected. If you plan and you prepare, it protects you from the unexpected. Okay, so that's just how you're living your life. That should be your current reality once you begin to walk out your transition. Okay, now remember, weight loss phase 1, you have decreased your weight and eliminated extra fat. You've learned a series of new eating habits. You've lowered your total energy consumption. In other words, you're eating less calories, right? The massive calories are what got you where you were going. Now you're eating an appropriate amount of calories. You've improved the quality of your food. Whole foods is where we're moving towards, remember. You've limited, during weight loss, you've limited some types of food, but guess what? We get to put them back in. And you've protected your muscle from being cannibalized by your body by flipping those metabolic switches that we talked about that have to do with leptin and it has to do with insulin, right? So now what you've done when you've reached your goal weight is you have modified your body weight set point. Remember, there's 2 factors that determine your body weight point, body weight set point. 1 is that leptin insulin balance. And I'm not going to go through that again. You can rewatch or you can read on those pages I told you about. And 2, you have, you're monitoring your response to calories. In other words, your calories coming in match your calories going out. And so they cancel each other, right? Those 2 factors. So during transition, as you add in more calories, you're going to be kind of watching, you and your coach are going to be watching your body's reaction to adding more calories in. Now, one thing Dr. A says, and we kind of talked about it last time, is as you begin to add more starches in, fruits, you're going to have natural sugars, you're going to replenish your glycogen stores, all those things you detoxed your first 3 days and lost all that water weight. And you have to remember, glycogen is 3 parts water, 1 part stored glucose. So when you replenish those stores, you're going to replenish those stored water. Okay. So we don't flip out when we gain that water weight, right? Let's all agree right now, we're not going to panic and tell your coach, I knew this was going to happen. I'm gaining all my weight back. You're not allowed to panic when that happens. All right. We are not counselors. Kristen Adair is a counselor. She's the one you need to go to, but we are not licensed counselors to deal with the emotional fallout of you flipping out. We're telling you now, it's going to be okay. In fact, Dr. A says it could be up to 5 pounds. Now, I tell my clients 2 to 3 because that's what I tend to see is 2 to 3 pounds, but it could be up to 5. But what he says is it's going to, as you continue with your healthy habits, as you continue with your lifestyle, low glycemic lifestyle, it will actually work itself out and you're going to fall at that body weight set point. Okay. So now you've modified your body weight set point, and it's important you keep your calorie consumption reduced. Okay. You're not going to go back to your old lifestyle of eating high glycemic, tons of calories. Okay. You're going to fall around to what your body needs, the caloric daily intake that your body needs. You're going to keep the balance of your set point so that you can increase leptin, but stop insulin from increasing, which will prevent your weight gain. Remember, high levels of insulin makes you be a fat storage machine. So you're going to control your insulin levels by staying away from high glycemic carbs. We're going to introduce carbohydrates, but they're going to be low glycemic. Okay. So that's just kind of where we are and what we're going to do. Now, You're saying, okay, Cassandra, I'm there. I'm ready. I don't really understand the leptin insulin thing, but I'm ready to go. That's okay. Let's do this. So the first thing we need to know is, how many calories does your body need every day on a daily basis based on your activity and your basal metabolic rate? Okay. So there's something called total energy expenditure. How much energy does your body expend in a 24-hour period? Okay. Now, anytime you hear the word energy, I want you to think calories, right? Total caloric expenditure. Energy is always kilocalories, calories. Okay. You need to know from the very beginning, what does your body need? Okay. Now, the total energy expenditure, there's 3 variables that determine your total energy expenditure. You don't really need to know all of it, but one, it's your basal metabolic rate. Essentially, like if you were a lump on a stump and you just existed, how many calories would you expend just to exist? That's sleeping. If you never got out of bed, just what does your body need? That's your basal metabolic rate, right? So that's one factor. Your PAL or your PAL, essentially, that's your physical activity level. So we need to know what your physical activity level is. And your TEF, that's the thermic effect of food. Your body actually expends calories just metabolizing your food. I think it's about 10% of your total energy expenditure is your TEF. Okay. You don't need to know all that. I'm just saying it. It's there. I told you. What you need to know is just that number, TEE. Now, in your habits of health and in your life book, there is a whole formula of how you can calculate that. I don't even want you to do that. What I want you to do is I want you to go to the Optavia website, and I'm going to take you there now, okay? Because guess what? Dr. A gave us a handy dandy calculator, all right? If you know your age, if you know your weight, if you know your height, and you know your activity level, you can just calculate your TE. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And if you have your phone, you can do this. If not, we can put the links in the chat. But just know you can just go to optavia.com, go to the programs, go to the 3 and 3. Okay, the 3 and 3 is the maintenance, and scroll to the very bottom and you will find your TE calculator. Someone put it up there. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. All right, I'm going to go here. Well, let me click it first because I don't want you to see everything that I've got up. Here we go, TEE calculator. And I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. All right. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Hopefully you're seeing the Optavia website. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, guys, www.optavia.com. All right. So hover over products and programs. You're going to go to the Optimal Health 3 and 3 program. You're going to click it. And then you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And what do you know? Here is the handy dandy calculator. All right. So you're going to put your weight in. I'm going to put 150, 5'7", my age, 45, don't judge me. And I'm a female. I'm going to hit next. Now, let's be honest with ourselves when we click this next part. What is your activity level? Dr. A says in here, err on the conservative side. In other words, you're never as active as you think you are. So just for, at this point, you guys, week 3, you should have been starting to increase some either eat or neat activity, right? Non-exercise, I just went blank, or your exercise thermogenesis. But if you're not, you're not. right? If you haven't, you haven't. Let's just be honest with yourself, because you don't want to give yourself a bunch of calories that you're not really earning, right? Okay, so let's say sedentary for these purposes, and you calculate. Well, there you go, 1632. Can we all understand that this is an approximation? I'm saying words that I don't know if are real words again. So it's an approximate number, okay? So that's why as you add in calories, you're going to see how it affects you, okay? Again, don't flip out if you gain 2 to 3 pounds, because that's just that water weight. But if the weight steadily seems to keep growing, we're going to watch that, all right? Now I'm going to reset this, okay? Let's look at the difference. Let's say I'm 150 pounds. I'm 5'7". I'm 45. But let's say I'm moderately active. Let's say I walk every single day, maybe really slow, but then at least 3 to 4 times a week, I'm also doing some high intensity interval training. So I'm going to say moderately active. Boom, you guys. 2108. Do you understand? That's food you get to eat, right? That's food. That's energy you get to consume. And remember, energy equals calories, right? Now remember, low glycemic lifestyle. So this is how, and we've got to know this. We have to know this before we transition. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. So Chantel, do you want to just, I don't know if there's anything you can add into that, but do you want to just add a little bit to that?
Yeah, and what I love about this is that so many times through, and if you're not in transition yet, just know this is coming, and you can always go back to the YouTube channel to find, these past episodes. But what I love about this is that we have this tool. Yeah, see, guys, this is always a handy dandy tool for you, right? So if you're not in transition yet, don't just ignore this. Just knowledge is power. So we have this available to you. But I was going to say, what I love about that is it goes from, okay, I reached my goal weight. Let me just now go back to eating the way I want to eat. And then we repeat the cycle, right? Rinse and repeat. No, Dr. A just didn't say, I want you to lose the weight. I want to give you tools to keep it off and have this transformation, right? Lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. And so I love that we have this tool. And so that as we transition and start adding things back, we're not just left hanging. We have the resources to actually do this for the rest of our lives. So thank you, Cassandra, for continuing to share this with us.
So, okay, so let's just say that you all have calculated what your total energy expenditure is right now, okay? So what I want you to understand, and I'm going to say this a million times, is that when you are on the optimal weight 5-in-1 plan, your daily calories are anywhere from 850 to 1,000 calories, okay? Again, don't freak out. Remember, it's low calorie, but nutrition dense. Right? That's why you don't cannibalize your muscle tissue. That's why you don't go into starvation mode. That's why this plan is incredible. You're getting all your macros abundantly. Okay. However, so your calorie deficit, which is what your body needs minus what your body is getting. For instance, my total energy expenditure is about 1670 sedentary. All right. So 1670 minus 1,000 calories is about 670 extra calories a day that I get to eat to get to my maintenance calorie goal. Okay. Let's say this though. If you are 120 pounds, and I've already run these numbers, if you're 120 pounds, 5'2", at 65 years old and you're sedentary, guess what your calories are? 1253. All right, so 1253 minus 1,000 is 253 extra calories you get to eat per day, all right, to get to your maintenance weight. Now, if that same woman exercises and becomes slightly active, her calories go up to 1435, which means she gets 435 extra calories. If she becomes moderately active, then her calories get up to 1618, which means she has 618 calories she gets to eat. This is important, okay? Because as you transition, each week, we're going to be adding a few more calories in each week. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, if Emily, could you put that first transition chart up for me? All right, you guys. When you start transition, you are not going to change your mindset. All right. You are still in the 5-in-1 mindset. You have not arrived. Remember, we talked about last week, you never arrive, right? You are always striving to go to the next thing. Okay. So what I want from you guys is, when you get to week 1, you're still thinking, I'm 5-in-1 in it. I'm 5-in-1 in it. Okay. So let's look at this. Week 1, I don't want you to worry about the target calories just this second. I just want you to realize you're still going to do 5 fuelings. You're still going to do your lean and green meal. You're simply adding 2 servings of vegetables into your day. Look, if you don't have high calorie, like if you're a 1,200 person, like if you're that tiny person who's only going to need 1,235 calories to reach their maintenance calorie needs, we'll walk you through this. But this is incredible that they take you through this slowly, because what if you have 2,000 calories? What if you're the person that has to add in an additional 1,000 calories each day? What if you're an athlete, or what if you're a guy? It would be overwhelming to have to add all that in at once. The fact that they walk you through this is incredible, and your body needs this. Your body needs the slow transition, okay? So your first week, you're simply adding in 2 servings of vegetables, and guess what? You can add it any way you want to. You can add it to your lean and green meal. You can eat it. What I did was I had it at my lunch. I had a side salad with my noontime fueling. You can do however you want. You can have one of those servings at lunch, add it to your supper. You can do it whenever you need it. Okay. This is your journey. You just get it in. So after your first week, then we move to week 2. Okay. So notice what has happened in week 2. We get 4 fuelings and 1 lean and green meal. So we have taken one of those fuelings out. Okay. Guess what, guys? This is maybe not the same for everybody. This was my hardest week on transition for me. And this is why. We took a fueling out, and then we added 2 servings of vegetables from the week before and 2 servings of fruit. I did not plan my week 2 out well. And let me tell you why. So what I did was I had an 8 o'clock fueling. I did a 10 o'clock fueling. When I would normally do my noon fueling, I had a side salad and my fruit. And then I didn't have my 4th fueling until 3. Well, when you take out that fueling, the fueling is perfectly packaged nutrition. It has about 10 grams of protein, about 12 to 15 grams of low glycemic carbs, and your healthy fat, right? The thing about protein, and he talks about this in 2.7, is that protein helps with satiety. It helps with hunger, right? It helps lower the glycemic impact of any type of carbs on your bloodstream. So it helps you stay full longer. Well, what I wish I had done was that I wish I had taken half of a fueling at 10 and the other half of a fueling at noon and split that up so that I would have had a little bit of protein to carry me through to my 4th fueling. But again, you can do this any way you want. That might have been fine for anybody else. For me, I needed that little bit of protein. Okay, so it was a transition for me. But then week 3 came, and look what we get to do for week 3. Week 3, you still have your 4 fuelings. You get your 1 lean and green meal. You get your 2 servings of vegetables from the first week. You get your 2 servings of fruit from the second week. And look, you get to add in dairy. Once I added in dairy, that gave me that protein I needed to help carry me to my 4th fueling, and I was home free. I was fine. That was really helpful for me. So for me, what I did was a side salad for lunch, some fruit, and I did a Greek yogurt for lunch. That's what I did. But this is flexible. Doesn't have to be that way. You do what works for you. Okay. And then finally, week 4 is when you drop that one of those fuelings. So you've dropped 2 fuelings by now, and you have a lean and green meal. And now you've got 2 servings of vegetables, 2 fruits, your dairy, and you add in 4 to 6 ounces of a lean protein and 1 serving of whole grain. Okay. Now, if you see, now we're going to look at calories again. If you see where it says week 4 through 6, notice that it says that this is anywhere between 1,100 calories and 1,500 calories. Okay. Now, this is why it's very important to know what your total energy expenditure is. What if you are the lady that I gave the example earlier, where you're 5'2", 120 pounds, you're sedentary, you're 65 years old, and your total energy expenditure is 1,200 calories? Well, if you know that, you're probably not going to progress the exact same way. You're going to work with your coach, okay? You're probably going to go to the sample meal plans earlier to find what you're going to need to eat your 1,200 calories, okay? Also, your coach is going to be encouraging you to get more active so you can get more calories. Makes sense, right? And if you want to eat more, you got to get more active. If you want to eat more fuel, then you need to make your body need more fuel, okay? Now for me, 1670, I could progress past that. Now, let's say that you are a man whose total energy expenditure needs are 2,000 calories. Well, this is why it says week 4 through 6. So around week 4, you're just going to be at 1,550, right? What he says is every week, add in another 100 calories. Add in another 100 calories. And then add in another 100 calories till you hit that body weight set point where food, calories coming in matches calories being expended. Right? Could you switch yes, thank you. So these are just some examples of transition meal plans that you can do. This is the new guide, guys. I love the new guide. It's so much more comprehensive than the previous program guide. But these are just examples. But of course, if your total energy expenditure is less, you're not going to be going through all of this. You're going to transition till we get to your body set weight point, to your caloric needs. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take you can take that off, Emily. I'm going to take you to something called sample meal plans. All right. Let me share my screen. All right, we see that. All right, I am struggling to navigate this here. Here we go. Okay, so you guys, if you go and Google, because Google has all the answers for Optavia, you guys, literally, it'll take you to Optavia answers much quicker than going to the website. Always Google and put Optavia in there and it will give you everything you need. But if you Google Optavia sample meal plans, it will give you all these samples. Now, these are just guides, okay? So for example, if you're that 1,200, if you're a 120-pound lady and you hit, by the 3rd week, you hit that 1,300 calorie mark, then we're going to transition you straight into the sample meal plans, right? Like I said, these are just guides, but let's look at this, all right? 1,200 calories, 1 starch, 1 dairy, 1 optimal health fueling, 1 vegetable, 1 protein, 1 dairy, 1 optimal health fueling, 2 vegetables, 1 protein, 1 fat, 1 fruit, and look, 1 free choice. All right. Okay. So, but if you're that 2,000 calorie fella, look, I'm just going to scroll. Don't get dizzy when I do it. Let's start at 1,800. notice that you get a lot more, several starches, several dairies, several fruits. Okay. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you, but I'm going to talk about some frequently asked questions. How about that? Okay. These are the questions I get for people when they're on transition. Now, remember, week 4, you add in a starch and you add in protein, right? Then you're like, I don't know what to do with starches. I haven't had starches in 18 months, Cassandra. What's a starch? How much is a starch? There is a handy dandy guide where you can see all of that. And what it's called is our healthy exchange list. Okay. So let me try to get out of here because let me stop sharing. There we go. All right. There's something called a healthy exchange list. So you've got your TEE calculator on the Optavia website. You can Google the transition charts in your guide, by the way, but you can Google that too. Now, your tool that you can use is your sample meal plans. And I'm about to tell you something called your healthy exchange list. All right, healthy exchange list. So I'm going to pull the healthy exchange list up. Here we go. And I apologize for the time it's taking me to do this. All right. So guys, all your questions about serving sizes and everything are here. Healthy exchanges. Okay. So let's talk about what a whole grain serving would be. Okay. I want you to scroll. Here's protein. Everything, a starchy vegetable, whole grains, everything is right here under starches. Okay. So you've got everything from bread. And some of y'all, your hearts just leapt a little bit, didn't I? Said the B word. I said bread, and your heart started beating really fast. And you're like, oh my gosh, I get to have bread again. Yeah, but slow your roll. Okay. You get 1 slice or 2 slices of reduced calorie bread. And if you're me, you're like, bread, I can't go down that road. That's flirting with disaster. So I avoid bread if I can. But it tells you right here what one healthy exchange is. So for example, starchy vegetables is a 1/2 cup serving size. Baked potato, 3 ounces or a 1/2 medium. Let's see, under here, now all the grains are right here. Cooked barley, freekeh, who knows what that is, right? Farro, I've never heard of that in my life. Millet pastas, whole grain pastas. Now, he does not say here white pasta versus whole grain, but what he's hoped by the time you get through your habits of health is that you have learned that we are now going to make those low glycemic decisions. So you're going to lean towards the whole grains. You're going to lean towards the brown rices. You're going to lean towards the whole grain pastas. You're going to lean towards a sweet potato rather than a white potato. That's the direction we're going. Okay. So if you are wanting to know what can I have, here it is. Your healthy exchanges is incredible. Now, this is something you need to know about the healthy exchange list. Everything on the healthy exchange list is about 100 calories. Okay. So 1 slice of bread, about 100 calories. Notice I said about, because when I called nutrition support and I'm like, well, that's not exactly, they're like, ma'am, it's not going to be exactly. I said, oh, okay. I'm like, that's not exactly 100 calories. They said, it's an approximation. Okay. So if you're type A, it's okay. It's an approximation. Okay. So everything on the healthy exchanges is about 100 calories. All right. So at the very bottom of this, let's go down here. Oh, some of you got excited. You just saw the alcohol, didn't you? You're like, I get to have my glass of wine again. Yes, you do. But let's look at the ounces, let's keep it to around 100 calories, right? And look at this. Well, they put sweets and desserts, but this is kind of where that free choice on the sample meal plans falls into, okay? Now, I called nutrition support about this. The healthy exchanges, it is derived from the American Diabetes Association, and it's their exchanges. The sample meal plans is derived from the USDA. Okay, so there's going to be slight variations, but when you all fall back to you needing to add 100 calories to get to your total energy expenditure, especially if you have really incorporated activity into your life, so your total energy expenditure is higher, you need to know about 100 calories a day, what that's going to look like. Okay, so if you need to add 100 calories a day in the protein area, I want you to look at this. Look at protein. One of my questions from one of my clients was, okay, on the sample meal plans, it says I get 3 ounces of protein for lunch and 3 ounces of protein for supper. But on the healthy exchange list, it lists 2 ounces and 1 ounces, right? Just remember that everything on the healthy exchange list is about 100 calories, okay? So that way you can add more protein if you need to, more starches if you need to get to your calories. In transition, you are working up to the amount of calories you need. I have some coaches, not just my coaches, but sideline coaches to me, who we talked about transition, and they choose to be grain-free. They don't do whole grains. And so they have to make sure they add more of those calories in, either with starchy vegetables or protein. Okay. But if you remember from sections 2.5, 2.6, when they were talking about healthy eating for life, we're going to do Dr. A's plate system, 9-inch plate, which half of that plate is 50% vegetables and fruit, 25% starches, 25% protein. Okay. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to go back to that sample meal plan again, so I can talk to you about another very frequently asked question about the sample meal plan. Are we seeing this? No. Yes, now we're seeing it. Okay. I want you to notice something. Let's look at Miss 1200 calories. I'm very sad for her. We need to get her to exercise some more, right? So she can get more food. Notice this. At lunch, she gets 1 protein, and her 1 protein is 3 ounces of grilled chicken. Okay, let's look at supper or dinner. I forget, in the South, we call it something different, right? She has 1 protein and it's 3 ounces. Now let's look at Mr. 1800 calories or Mrs. 1800 calories. Maybe she's doing 4 days of cardio and weightlifting, right? Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at her lunch. Well, she gets a protein for lunch too. Hey, but that's not fair. What's the deal? Why does Miss 1800 calories get 4 ounces? And at dinner, she gets another 4 ounces. And if you think that's bad, look at this. Bad as in not fair, right? Let's look at Mr. 2100 calories. Look at his protein at lunch. He gets 6 ounces for lunch and 6 ounces for supper. Now, how is that fair? Okay, so I want you to look at something. Going back to remember, all the healthy exchanges were about 100 calories, right? Now, this is approximation. I'm having trouble with that word. But let's look at 1900 calories. Well, we're going to go up here. Let's look at 1500 calories. Let's notice that every one of these is about one starch is 100 calories. 1 dairy is about 100 calories. 1 fruit is about 100 calories. Optimal health fuelings, they're about 140, 150, right? Let's look at this protein. Remember about 2 ounces of certain proteins like chicken, 2 ounces of protein was about 100 calories. So if you start adding up all of these 1s and 2s, this one is about 1.5, it ends up being close to what the 1500 calorie for this is. And that's clear as mud. And what I'm trying to tell you is this. I called nutrition support about this months and months and months ago because it was confusing. And what they said is that that the amount of lean protein you get, in other words, meat, is about 10 to 20% of their total caloric needs. Okay. So if you are 1,200 calories, then 6 total ounces of lean protein is about 15 to 20% of 1,200. Okay. Notice I said lean protein. Okay. Because you're going to get about 25 to 30% protein total in your total macros. Okay. In other words, out of your total amount of calories you're going to get, protein's going to be anywhere from 20 to 30% of that, right? When you start adding in more legumes, you're going to be adding in dairy, you're going to be getting protein from other sources other than just your lean protein and your fuelings. Obviously, you're going to be getting protein in your fuelings if you're going to stay with the prepackaged fuelings. But what you need from lean protein is about 10 to 20%. Okay. So that is why someone who has 1,200 calories her needs are 1,200 calories. She's getting about 6 total ounces of lean protein. Meanwhile, Mr. 2,100 calories, he gets about 12 ounces of total lean protein. His caloric needs are more. His protein needs are more. Therefore, 10 to 20% lean protein for him is about 12 ounces, right? Meanwhile, someone whose caloric needs are only 1,200, their caloric needs are less, their protein needs are less. So 10 to 20% for them is just about 6 ounces of lean protein a day. Lean protein, not total protein, right? That's why this is different. You don't need to know all of that. You just need to know pretty much that you're moving towards your total calorie needs. So you just pick whatever you are, and then you move that way. Okay, so I'm going to take this off a share real quick. And Chantel, I'm going to let you take over for just a second.
Yeah, so good. Here's the deal, guys. We don't have to be afraid of transition. Actually, it should be exciting. And just like we've had a systematic plan to get the weight off of us, we have a systematic plan to transition and keep the weight off of you. The end goal is a lifelong transformation, right? And so I love that. Actually, I was reading in the life book, and it says this: once you've achieved your healthy weight. So first of all, if you're on here and you have not achieved your healthy weight, all of this is for future reference, right? So you just put this in your vault of knowledge for later and work with your coach. But right now, if this is for it, once you have achieved your healthy weight, which, by the way, if you weren't on last week and you don't really know what that healthy weight is, we talked about it last week, a couple different measurements, right? How to measure if you're at a healthy weight. You're ready to make the transition to lifelong healthy eating. This 6-week transition leads to ultimate goal of fewer than 1,550 calories per day, or depending where you're at on that. So exciting. If you have any questions, we don't have much time left, but if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat and we'll try to answer a few of those. Again, you should all have your life book and your Habits of Health book, which is such valuable information. Google's a great resource. We have everything at our fingertips. We just have to learn. And I want to just say this one thing too. If you're a little bit intimidated by it, that seems like a lot, because I am because the 5-in-1 is so easy. I have to remember that before I started the 5-in-1, that was a little bit intimidating. Like, how can I eat 6 times a day? That's too much, right? But then I understood the plan, because knowledge is power. And then I trusted my coach and I got the results. And so that's what we're asking you to do here. We're asking you to educate yourself, reach up to your coach, trust the system, because it works. Cassandra, any other last things you want to say? Anybody has any questions, put it in the chat now. Cassandra, any last things you want to say?
While she's looking at any of those questions, I just want to say this. Like she said, don't be overwhelmed. All you need to know when you enter transition is, I get 2 vegetables this week. I get 2 extra vegetables this week. right? That's all you need to know. Okay. And the other thing is, when you get into maintenance, it is your plan. So, for example, my life is insane. I still need healthy fast food. You better believe I'm going to use those fuelings. Right now, we can transition you completely off fuelings. He has that, but I need simple. I need convenient. I need thoughtless. So guys, if I need I need 500 of my calories today to come from something that's simple, I may do 5 fuelings today because I need thoughtless. That's what he wants. He wants this to be easy for you. You do what you need to do. Okay. Now we are moving towards whole foods, but this is your journey.
Guys, thank you again for being here with us today, for giving us some of your time so we can learn and grow together as a community. Let me just encourage you to have a safe and healthy weekend. Make good choices. Reach up to your coach. They are your greatest resource. Cassandra, you are the master teacher. Thank you so much for teaching us today. Hey, guys, see you all on Coffee with Clients next Friday. Have a great one.